Good afternoon. My name is Tim Ryan. Welcome to the Tim and Jenn show. This is my host, my better half, my best friend, my wife.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Jimenez Ryan. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.
What's happening? It's snowing all over the friggin' country.
Well,
people are locked down everywhere.
From like Midwest.
It's from New York to Chicago, down to Tennessee, the Virginias, Texas. It's a shitstorm everywhere.
Yeah, and it's 70 degrees in LA.
Yeah, I'll take LA life or South Florida life.
I hope everyone's staying safe. Yeah. I can't believe that, like, the rollout that they were doing, the power outages.
It's just not a good situation. Reason I got out of Chicago 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's the minus something. It's just way too much for me.
What were you sharing with me earlier?
Well, okay, so, I mean, obviously you know about this, but like this is a weird week. Like, I've always been kind of weirded out with Valentine's, like that day that you have to say I love you, you know what I mean? And you have to do something. Like I just think that like society, it's like Happy I Love You Society Day.
I have to say I love you.
Yeah, I have to say I love you. And February is always a weird week, and especially this week for me because my dad passed away years ago. I was 20 something years old when he passed, and I was thinking about it this week, earlier today and last night, and I'm like, you know, the deceased, you know, sometimes some of us live in the deceased being gone, and in that moment, like, you know, that they're, you know, oh my God, that day. And I was like, why am I doing that? Like, I don't want to do that. And so I realized the thing with my father passing was that was the first. And that moment,
major
that
loss
call,
of someone passing,
that, you know, that scream that I heard, like, that was the day that my life changed immediately. And it does for anyone who loses people they love. And then at the time, I was so not treated, you know, and I had so many things I needed to work through and traumas. And, you know, my dad, like, he loved me and he loved my brother. And I'm so blessed to say that. And yet, you know, he did the best he could. And like, I now get to say I give him a break. But that's been with a lot of, you know, therapy and 12-step stuff.
Something I didn't tell you, you tend to talk in your sleep a lot. And last night, you woke me up, you move your arm, frail the shit out of me. But when you talk in your sleep, I'll talk back to you because that's when I try to get the truth out of you. But you had woke up and you said, Tim, I love you and I miss my dad. So subconsciously, I mean, this is really affecting you, and I'm glad that you're able to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, thank you.
Yeah.
But I mean, and thanks for saying that. I just think that, like, it's weird because my brother's birthday is the day before my dad's and passed. And it's like, we celebrate them and all that stuff, but like, we also need to work through the family issues. And it's important because now I'm like, okay, I get to miss him and I'm, you know, and all that, but I also get to move on with my life.
You have to, and celebrate it. You celebrate your father's life. I celebrate my son Nick's life, who passed away almost 6 years ago, but some people don't. They don't know how to, and they stay stuck in that grief forever and go down the rabbit hole of addiction or mental health or self-harm or porn or gambling. They don't know how to cope. It happens all the time, and it's not interesting. I had a call with the father about an hour and a half ago, whose daughter is on a plane to treatment right now, and she kept overdosing, and they couldn't get her on a flight yesterday, and she overdosed twice yesterday. And this father says to me, he said, Tim, I'm so grateful my daughter's on her way to treatment for the umpteenth time. He said, I'll never give up on her. But he said, am I a bad person to say that I hope? He didn't say I hope, but if she weren't to wake up from an overdose, would there be peace? Would there be solitude? And I said, that's not wrong to ask, because she has hijacked your friggin' world, your world. They're raising the 5-year-old child. And I said, I can tell you when my son died, the chaos stopped. The police stopped calling, the hospitals, the institutions. And yes, it's tragic, but it's not wrong for someone to think like that. And I think that's a good lead in.
Wait.
Always waiting.
I know, but I just got to say this, because we've been working with a lot of people lately, and I've been hearing, you know, their pain and stuff. Like, my only suggestion to anyone who's listening right now is that, and this is something that I work really hard on, and Tim, you've been really working a lot, and I'm so proud of you on this, is that toxic people in your life, remove yourself from.
Get rid of them. Get rid of them. Yeah. So this is a good lead into our next guest, who is not only become one of my dearest friends, one of Jennifer's. He is a mentor. He is a friend. He is a badass in the recovery community, 17 plus years clean and sober. He runs a business called Hired Sobriety. I have dealt with a ton of people that work in this industry and say they're interventionists or whatever, but I would say that Bob Merrier, our guest, is one of the top interventionists, not in the country, in the world.
Yes.
Bob does work internationally, Saudi Arabia, the Arab Emirates,
Dubai.
all over Canada, Dubai, everywhere in between in the States. And we want to welcome our dear friend and brother, Bob Merrier. Hi, Bob.
Hi, guys. I feel like I'm in your living room now. Thank you for that. And all of the above, a very kind and warm welcome. And I feel like I was thinking today, Tim, I met you, really, we bonded at an event for Ryan Hampton's event that was with Macklemore. Yeah. And we, it was pretty obvious that we were going to be friends right off the bat. I think the second word was, "So who the hell are you, fuckface?" And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
He speaks my language. And not bad at all. And then to the dark jokes of Bob, you call me for the first year you knew me, you'd call me and say, "Bob, where's your mom?" And my mom had passed, and she's dead, I would say. And you'd say, "You know what? Nick's dead, my son." I was like, okay. And we would do this routine with people, and people were like, "What the fuck is wrong with these guys? The darkness is good and runs deep." And you're also, to go back to your opening, and you were talking about, how trauma was, what drives the boat before you knew it. I was probably 3 years into my sobriety when I started to realize that the trauma was a hell of a lot more severe than I thought it was. And the weird thing about trauma is saying, okay, well, it happened, and I admitted it in the open air, and somehow that would be enough. The processing of trauma and grief and all of these things, both my parents died in recovery. I'll keep it light. When my dog died on Mother's Day last year during the coronavirus, it hurt me more than my parents. And I love my mom and dad. I absolutely love my parents. But, grief is weird. But going back
grief is weird.
I understand. I do.
Yeah. So, I totally get it. Yeah, it's
Go on. I keep interjecting.
A lot of people say, I remember everyone saying like, "Oh, it's going to get better. It's going to get better." And for me, it didn't get better. It got less. And so when it hits me like it just happened 3 minutes ago. Right. Mm-hmm. But of trauma, of like grief of my father passing or whatnot, and other people that I've lost, from A, this disease, B, just because, they lost life. Like, and it's funny because I've heard you guys like doing this, and there's almost like a refreshing like way of dealing with this trauma, like, or the loss of somebody, the way you guys play.
Well, you know what call it dark humor, call it what you want, but what all three of us do, Bob does a lot more interventions, but we work with people struggling with substance abuse, mental health on a daily basis. We're in their sickness. We're in their family sickness. A lot of people die. A lot of people relapse. The ones that get sober and do well, kudos and heroes to them. But this keeps me sane too. It really does. And you know what? My son Nick would be laughing his ass off if he heard me saying this. He might, I don't know. Bob, how is your mom?
She's dead. She's definitely dead.
That's what I thought. My son's dead too.
Yeah.
Wait, so Bob?
Yeah. Where was I? I was telling you about this thing. You want, unless you have something else to tell me, I was going to continue.
No, go ahead.
So the grief thing, at 3 years, I started, and I'm like a highly processed human being. I'm in therapy still. I have continued. I have moved my therapy to different types of therapy, different types of work. And I think it's important because, yes, the rooms are tantamount to my keeping my recovery, and I'm very much involved in my own personal recovery and in my fellowship. But I also have a lot of professional help here. As I went in to become an interventionist, so in 2010, I'm lying in bed and we would watch intervention, and my ex-wife, again, I give her credit because we're really good friends. We went our own ways. I'm a very mature and adult relationship with my ex-wife, but she was the one saying, you're better than these people on TV. And now everyone's going to say, well, she goes, you have, I've seen you go out and do 12-step work at 2:00 in the morning. You don't bat an eye. You just go. You don't give a shit. And I was like, yeah, but I can't. And then really started to move me towards like getting a training and doing it. And as soon as I got trained, I was like, okay, I feel pretty good about my skill set now. And then you go off and earn your stuff. But my job, which now, 500 plus interventions into this career of mine, in what will be 10 years this year, I would tend to believe I didn't think that I was getting affected by all of it. And at one point it started probably, 5-6 years ago when I'm rattling off 50 intervention, one a week, and you're starting to feel like being in airports and rushing around, and like after the intervention, I was like, what the fuck is this? What am I feeling? That's PTSD and that's trauma. And I was like, I remember getting sidelined in Chicago one night. I didn't know Tim then, and I'd landed late, missed the connection to Montreal, my home base, and it'd been a long day. I'd intervened. I'd been on probably 5 planes in 2 days, and I just started crying. I was by myself in the terminal. That place closed up. You land at midnight at O'Hare, it's quiet. It's fucking quiet.
It's very quiet.
And I remember curling up, going like, it was the first time I was like, I can't control my cry for about an hour. It was a catharsis, but it was like getting out of me. And it really started to look into, well, why is this coming up now? Because the shit that I said that I had dealt with and I had done my work with was part of the process that was coming up in me. And if people are listening now, you think you've dealt with shit when you really haven't. There's a deeper dive that you can get in there that can really start to make an effect on you. And I started to deal with it, culminating in Brad Lamb and I would speak. And I was telling him after my mom passed and I had this horrific intervention, 3 other guys had failed. And the night my mom died, the next morning I went and did an intervention. Wow. That's normal. That's completely acceptable because that was my way of dealing with stress. I'm going to strap this on my back and go in there, be the motherfucking man. I don't care what. And I remember driving home. I'd driven to Ottawa, 100 miles from Montreal. And I was driving home and I was like, oh my God, I guess that's it. And I had to like curl up in the back seat and cry along the highway by myself going, what the fuck is wrong with me? And then fast forward 3 weeks later, I get a call to do this high profile intervention in Oregon. And 3 other interventionists have failed, and I'm called in, and I'm fucking insane. I believe I'm landing every plane. I don't give a shit. You don't own a unicorn. I can take this in. That's how I think. I really and truly think that. I tell families all the time. I had a call tonight from a young lady. She's in her 30s, but she said, my sisters and I, when you left the first time we met, you thought, that man is insane. He has no idea what he's dealing with. And you looked at us and said, do you guys own a unicorn? Your dad have a fucking horn coming out of his forehead? And they said, no. I said, it's not going to worry. And everything you said, you did exactly the way it was going to be done. Right. But going back to my trauma piece, so I do this job in Oregon. It takes 3 days, guys. And I'm in there. Dr. Nassiri's working the case. He's a well-known addictionologist in Los Angeles. And he calls my office and says, I think Bob may have lost his edge. And my office says, like, do you have any idea what he's doing in there? This guy has 3 ex-wives, by the way, and he's dealing with the girlfriend. And he goes, Bob's in there fucking masterclassing this thing. And I remember thinking, why did you say that? Because I know you when I be on the phone, I say, I'm not giving up. Don't worry. This guy's going to give. Don't worry, he's going to give. And he ran off to his cottage. All the bullshit was going on. Very wealthy. Billionaire was going to do whatever the hell he wants. But on day 3, he finally capitulated. And he said, I'm quite certain you're sicker than I am. And I was like, maybe so. And I remember flying it. We flew to Burbank and he went into the hospital because of his age and there was some restrictions. We didn't go for a new detox or subacute. We went into this. After I did that job, I was driving out of Burbank and I couldn't get out of the parking structure. Didn't know what was wrong. I'd been in there for 12 hours and I didn't know what was wrong. And the next day, Brad Lamb just called out of the Blue Sky and I told him what had happened. And he said, you're going to go see a friend of mine in Boise, Idaho, named Tara Holbrook, who's really well known. She works like she's an EMDR pioneer, and she's worked in the business. Her husband's an interventionist, so she's really good. And I went to see her, and it's funny because now I'm in my 14th or 15th year sober, and I'm definitely ready when I go to the therapeutic program. Remember when you first go to a therapist? Yeah, I'm only going to tip. I know before I got sober, 10% of the truth and 90% of my bullshit lie narrative. Nobody's getting me better. And then it leaves the doctor go, fucking idiot, doesn't have a clue. Of course not. I didn't tell him the truth. How was it going to work?
Of course.
But I went to see this woman, and I've never been more ready to accept what the fuck is going on. It scared me. It was like, this is how people jump off of bridges or go to the mail post office and lose their mind. Because my brain was doing things to me in my body, the physiology. I felt like I was under the ice. Like, it was frightening me. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I went there, and she got to work, and then, this really meaningful work, one-on-one. You're with her. It's a wonderful experience. But she got to work with me in a hurry. And as she said, it's amazing seeing someone that wants to go so hard and dive so deep into this. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I have to give it up. Like, it's like back in the day when you had a hooker come over and you talked to her for 55 minutes and you only got the business the last 5 minutes. It was pretty well. I was going in from day one. I love that I use
that's
that
a different podcast, Bob. That's a total different podcast.
No, it's not. Okay. We can talk about it here. We can talk about all the hookers. No, I'm sorry.
What? I just wanted to share. And then I did this. And see, when you thought of your dad, I love my dad and this and that. I've had it a few weeks ago in the shower where those emotions come back up. And she said, like, sit with it, Bob. Give yourself a hug. Sit. And I'm like, I said, that's the secret? She said, I did some really profound work. Like, when you're making your therapist and her assistant cry, you're in you're in the deep weeds. It dealt with traumas that stuff that happened to me as a child. Stuff like, I have a form of dyslexia. I can't write normal. And I PTSD, ADHD. When people say, no, my child is ADHD, can he read a book? And they're like, yes. I can't read a book. Like, my favorite color is shiny. So in the therapeutic process, I want to get to the end all the time, but I needed to do that. And dealing with trauma is so profound when you deal with it like that. You get into a new understanding of what it's like. And like, we feel shit. Life is happening to all of us. We're going to have to deal with it. And we happen to be in an industry that we go into everyone else's garbage. And at the end of the day, why am I single? Or what, there are women that don't understand if you're in your life. Well, why is he so fucking dark? Well, I don't know, because I just went and dealt with some heroin addict to kill herself, and I pulled him through the fucking mud for 2 days. And I just want to come home and watch my dog lick himself and really do not much. Maybe watch some mindless TV. I've watched way too much Judge Judy in my life. Way too much, right? Yeah. But that's how I decompress. And if you're not doing it, now I've had, like, I had COVID. Remember, I was like your COVID coach when you guys
you were.
I was telling you, hey, this is what we've got. And then my dog passed on Mother's Day. Like, it's not that enough, but my dog was the first animal I'd ever owned. It was like really heavy. Thank God I got the little one still with me. And then I had, this summer I got diagnosed with cancer. I get prostate cancer. And life is happening to me. Do I want to fold my tent? Do I want to drink? Fuck no. But you're dealing with, like, thank God you have the feeling in the middle of the night that you just thought of your dad and you miss him. That's a feeling that's genuine, and you have to have it. We want to push them away.
But see, these are things too, Bob.
I love that you're saying
and
that.
I love the way you've explained this. That people, like you said, oh, hi, I've had trauma. I was molested at 10 years old. My life is great. No, it's not. And being able to talk about it, but then get the help. And this lady right here was instrumental in getting me into true hardcore therapy.
You brought up so many things. I mean, I love your honesty. And like, I remember when I first, like, I met both of you guys, like, we started all kind of, like, you guys were already friends. And then I became friends with both of you separately. And then we all, like, got together. And
I was on your first date.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
You were.
I was the buffer for both of you. Both of you would, like, I was going to get kicked under the table from one of you at one point. Like, get me the fuck out of here. I knew that might have happened, but it didn't.
I think you bought dinner that night to boot. Thank you,
always
Bob.
buy dinner. That's who I am.
And I remember sitting there, and I remember having conversations with you, Bob, before. Like, we'd have such long, intense conversations. And I remember going, like, you're so eccentric, and you are who you are. And then I talked to Tim, and, like, he is who he is. And, like, I went, you know what? You guys brought me out to be more comfortable in my own skin of being who I am. And I was already comfortable a little bit-ish more. And a little bit comfortable in my own skin. And then I meet you guys, like, on the phone, and I'm like, fuck it. Like, I'm going to be me too. Like, and I talk a lot about that. Like at 10 years sober, I almost had a nervous breakdown, right? And I'm like, I went to go see this guy and I was just going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I didn't care. I was in such turmoil inside. And I just went to see him and I said, I don't want to talk about mommy or daddy right now. This is what's fucking happening in my life. Let's deal with this. And then we can go back. And like, he's amazing. Till this day, he's still my doctor, my therapist. And I am so grateful that I was not going to waste my money or my time in that in that four-wall place, because that's my safe haven and that's my sanctuary, and I can tell him anything. And I learned that in recovery with my sponsor, right? So then I was like, and then I got this. So like, there's certain places in my life that I feel safe that I can do that with. I can go to meetings and I feel safe. I can work with my sponsor. I feel safe. I can talk to you guys and I feel safe. And safety is so important for me. And it's okay. Like the trauma, I've dealt with fucking, and a lot of stuff has been healed. Then there's those that all of a sudden I'm like, I thought I dealt with this already. Why is this coming out right now? And it's because it's so deep enrooted inside of me, ingrained in me, that I need to deal. And then it just heals more. And then more will come up when I need to heal even deeper, you know, and I'm ready for it. Like I'm ready to accept whatever that is all the time, because I've had these crazy experiences in recovery. But I love how you talk about everything shiny and unicorns and all the things that you do, because you do so much. I mean, you're always on a plane. You're always helping people. Well,
let me cut in here because I want to talk about Bob's intervention process, and we can talk about trauma forever and shiny and pretty, and I'm just fucking around. So, Bob, first off, you didn't start getting into interventions until 2010, right? So
yeah.
How much clean time did you have? 5, 6, 7 years at the time?
I had 6 years before I even entertained the notion. And then it happened fast. 6 years. I've been helping people. I've been 12 stepping people for a while. I didn't have a sponsee till I was a proper one until I was 3 years. The first one I had, my sponsor said, "You made friends with them, didn't you?" I go, yeah. He said, "Yeah." There, did you learn? And my sponsor, same guy as today, always said to me, I remember calling him like in the first year, and like I come to sober living in South Florida, where I'm less than a quarter mile from where I got sober on South Beach, the Sobe room. And that's after I got thrown out of rehab, I came here, and everyone said, "He's in fucking South Beach, like it's over." And it was the best thing I did. But then quickly, I would say that my sponsor said to me, I remember calling once and I talked about the weather, and we had flip phones. We didn't have these fancy phones now. And I called him back. "You hang up on me?" He said, "What am I, fucking Helen Keller? You think I can't look outside? Give me some meat on the bone." And I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "Call me when it matters. You can call me at any time." Like I used to call him. I was having anxiety. "Oh, I don't know if I'm in the right place. Are you smoking outside?" "Yes." "Hang up on me. They're in the right place." But what he meant was, I don't need the window dressing. I have a limited amount of time for you, and this is the time that you can call me. I'm going to be there. And he has been there through every major event in my life. So that's good. Did I lose you? Sorry.
Bob didn't put his phone on Do Not Disturb.
I have 3 phones, and I didn't put it on. And getting back to you, I think that when I started doing this, Tim, first of all, I was a sober companion. I worked for another company. I don't talk about it. And another time, fucking Chicago, all these life things happens. I was like this filler guy. I get in, and I'm so conscious of my staff and how I work with them. You know, there used to be, you'd send someone out, look, 6 days with a person. I don't send anybody 6 days.
Right.
14 days, I'm turning it. I'm going to usually work people in teams, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, but there's no filler. I had first started doing this, and I'm like, I'm working in the big leagues now. And I get a call saying, "You got to go work this guy. You got to fly to Chicago, take over for this guy." The flight cost me $650. I was making $300 a day, and I only went to work 2 nights. So the flight cost me more than I was going to earn. With the taxis, transfers, and the companion I went to took from left me notes that at best were idiotic. If I had a client, if I had someone do a handoff like that today, I'd fucking murder them. Like, they're fired. Right. You're not working for me with that non-caring attitude. Where's my paycheck? Oh, the fucking you guys here. And that's it. So that's where I started. And I think it's important to understand that it was pretty humbling, because people think they're going to get into the recovery business. And I had a conversation a few days ago with a woman that her friend wanted me to talk to her. I did. And I said, let me see if I got this straight. You have 2 children under age 5 and you want to become a sober companion and you're a single mom.
Okay.
I said, like, you got to be honest. You're not going to have that job right now. You could work as doing case management. There were other jobs for you. But to think that you're going to get in there. And I said, tell me, how much do you think it pays? And she said, well, like $3,000 a day. I said, I don't know who's making $3,000 a day. I said, I'm one of the best in the world at this goddamn gig. And I don't charge that much money. All right. And I said, so when I hear about it in papers, it's like when you used to hear the street value of the cocaine was $10 billion. Right. And every drug dealer is going, where's that street? You know, it's the same difference in the recovery business. You know what I mean? And that's it. So we started there. You know, I started very humbly doing this job, extremely.
So thank you for saying that, Bob, because when I started in this, I didn't plan on, I don't think anyone says, you know what, I want to be an interventionist, I want to be a sober companion, I want to get sober. Most of the people stumble into this unless they go the clinical track. They get their ology degree or whatever. You know, I started with the nonprofit and support groups and kind of doing this, and was mentored and guided by people a hell of a lot smarter than me that had a bunch of letters behind their name, PhD this, MBA this, and learn the ropes. But even now you look at so many people, I can remember a couple years ago, and we won't mention the client's name, but I got called to do an intervention, and I've done a bunch of them, and I don't do them alone. But I knew this was so complex. I was smart enough to call you and say, hey, would you consider doing this with me? And you're like, hell yeah, game on. But in a selfish way, I got to see the master at work and how you work and operate. And we met with the family for 7 hours a day prior. And you're like, nobody ever raises their voice, and it's love, and we block and tackle and do this, and I direct everyone. But you laid it out in so detail, not in a democratic way, in a loving and caring way. And then we did the intervention, and then it ended up going 3 days, and the client went to treatment and another person went to treatment. But it was amazing that I got that opportunity, Bob, to see the master at work, because so many people take an online course for 4 hours and they think they're an interventionist. I said, you have no idea. We had a mom call us today who wants us to go to a nice homeless encampment to get her daughter. And I said, look, the first thing is I have to have treatment set up. She said, no, I need my daughter. I said, no, because if we drive up there to do this and get her, I need to know where she's going to treatment. I said, you don't go and do an intervention and not have treatment set up. And there's so many variables. People are just clueless.
Yeah, they are. I mean, in the sense of, like, I don't necessarily think I can actually go out and go into, you would never put me in that position where I would go into a homeless encounter or whatever.
Encampment. No.
Encampment, because
No.
I'm not, I don't need to be exposed in that area right now.
No, that's not what you do.
So, I mean, there's just so many things behind everything that we all do that people don't realize all the work it entails. Now, also, I feel like, Bob, like, you've had like documentaries made on you, you've had all these things, but like, we talk to you guys talk almost every day, and it's like, and you're so raw and real about your life and everything that's going on. And how do you find that self-care? Like, what do you do for self-care? And when
he calls me and cries.
I mean, you've gone through a lot, especially in the last year.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, you know, with
your
COVID,
your dog dying. The COVID was horrific for you. How many COVID tests have you had in the past year, Bob?
I've had 80. I did my 80th on Thursday.
80. Then the prostate issues, and I hate to say it, but getting roto-rooted constantly, blood drawn, going here, flying to see this specialist. I feel like shit. Oh, this guy, I got to go do an intervention in Saskatchewan. It's not stop. And I'm not joking. There's been times that Bob's called me and I've called him, and he's broke down or I've broke down because we're just exhausted. And that's what friends are for, though, too. And to have a grown man be able to cry is a big deal.
No, it's a beautiful thing. I think there's so much power behind that. But what do you do, and when do you realize? Is it at the last minute? Like my sponsor always says, "Why do you call me right before you're going to blow your brains out?" Not literally, but you know that like, oh God, I'm on a verge of a nervous breakdown. Like, when do you realize it's your time?
When I can answer, when I have to ask myself, who's in control of my life? You know, just like, whose job is it to feed me? Whose job is it to put me to bed? Whose job? It's mine. You know, the same thing is on my, you know, you can only give so much. I've had a hard time in COVID with people calling me, and I'm often the guys that people say no to the case. A lot of interventionists I know cherry pick their cases, like, yeah, it's not going to work, or, you know, and then, you know, when you're allowing, it's interesting you said that, some others said this, well, let's predicated upon that many interventions fail because we allow the sickest person in the equation to run treatment. Right. And now, in the last 5 years, when I go to an intervention, my director, I have a clinical director that handles every case, and a mom and whoever the person, you're going into therapy today. I'm leaving here. You're having an appointment. Your first call tonight, because we're going to work the whole family. So when you ask me what it's like for me, when I have to learn to say no and set boundaries, which it's really easier said than done. But I'm in my happy place now. I like to ride my motorcycle. I like to ski. It's been very hard. I haven't been able to be physically active because of this pain and stuff that I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with blood right now, blood work that is so mind-boggling. Like, all these different doctors can't understand it. Really, I have some interesting doctor friends. Of course, you have blood that's this complicated. Now I really do. I like sitting in the sun. I like I don't use sunscreen, and I like for some reason, that's who I am.
Bob used to use sunscreen. Do you see my ear that part of it's missing? That's not from Evander Mike Tyson. That's from skin cancer, Bob.
Yes, I know. And I am hyper vigilant that I put a little bit on my face. But where I'm joking, but I'm not. I have to say, if I don't take the time, I think sleep is the greatest. Sleep is the best way to self-care yourself. When you can't sleep right, usually that. I'm in bed. How often you guys call me, and I'm in bed?
All the time. And we're 3 hours time difference, but I can call you at 9:30 your time, and you're, hey, Tim, I'm going to bed. Yeah.
And that's my secret weapon is I get a lot of sleep. My mental acuity is very caught up in my sleep. So I take really good care of myself. I eat like I'm in great shape. I've just turned 56 years old. I might have some challenges that men my age have, but I take good care of me. Yeah. And I really enjoy that part. And I still work with my therapist, and I work with people that matter in my life. You know, I had a rough time. A person near to me who was working in the business has a rough 2 years. It was horrible watching someone you love go through the most nasty part of my life. And I'm still working through this, and I'm dealing with that and having to set boundaries with that. It was terrifying. And that sucked. Happy to report she's back on track and doing great. But it took brutal. And watching someone that knows, like, mental illness, depression, trauma, all that shit happens. And we're in our own business, and our job is to take care of ourselves. And then I have an example of someone that was hitting it hard in the business, and this happened to them. And we don't talk about our in our own business. In this business of recovery, often, I know some of the greats, and I'm pretty good at their me time. I'm pretty good at taking care of it. They're all dark. I think some of the darkest people I know are fucking interventionists and funny. And I keep in touch with a lot of them, and we're a lot of fun and good senses of humor. But you have to watch that. And there are hardly the first story you hear about someone working in the recovery business that goes sideways. And when they go sideways, it's a hard hit. And that's important to realize that. And I'm so, I use the word blessed. I'm blessed that I've never had the need to drink again. I never felt the need to never felt any of that. And so that obsession was lifted. But sometimes when I'm saying to myself, I'm working too much. I think that when I finally dealt with all the PTSD and stuff, she's basically that therapist. Tara Holbrook's telling me, what you do is you just work harder. So you just push it down by work, and you're a performance junkie. So and I don't take no for an answer. You know me. I'm say no 1,000 times. I'm just keep coming. So that drives me. So that could be important that even when I'm doing something really good, I may be hurting myself while doing it. So that's pretty crazy.
But one thing I want to bring up, and we were talking about this the other day when we're in the car talking, You said, I've got to go. I have my whatever night commitment to your fellowship meeting.
Yeah.
You still do 2 of those, and through
2 a week.
Two
2 a week. I've been doing it for, it's crazy. And I've been chairing my meeting, no matter where I am on the planet, I chair it. Like, I'm like, I have to make time for this. I had surgery, prostate surgery, and I did the meeting. It was like, oh yeah, I can do it. There's no problem. And again, that commitment's so important to me. That meeting is still going on. Tomorrow night, I mix it up. People never know what they're going to get there. What is it tonight? I'm going to have this guy share. Tomorrow night, I have a former professional NHL, played 13 years, an amazing story. Friend of mine, he's like, I absolutely want to come talk to your crazy people and stuff like that. And again, that commitment, those things come first. Those, like, if I don't put my recovery first, I'm not putting the people, I'm putting my people I love. It's an old adage, but I'm not putting the people that love. And, you know, when someone's new in recovery, like, did you really, I hear people say it and talk a good game. I take the recovery part really fucking seriously. I have made that commitment. I hear my sponsor in my head. I don't give a shit about the personalities in that meeting. You pick that meeting. It's called SOS. It's Tuesday nights. I live in downtown Montreal, and like, it's a scrape to get there. I don't give a goddamn, that commitment's yours. And I'm like, and he said, if your personality conflicts, and I don't care. You're going to stay there. You'll do group consciousness. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I've been with my group for 24 years. You're going to do the same thing. And it was really about the commitment, because he said, there'll always be an excuse. There can't be for this. And I said, okay. And he really appreciates that. But he always says, like, you saw what you wanted in a meeting, and you kind of formed this one into, we're pretty loose with the rules, other than I believe in 100% abstinence. Nobody says I got this in that meeting, because we laugh at people that say I've got this, because we all know we have today. And we don't use any platitudes. All right. You're not allowed to say at the end of the day, or it is what it is, because we all get mad at that. But I basically trained a whole bunch of lunatics to be as crazy as I am. And it's been really fun. And it's really my family. But, like, no matter where you go, like, you know, this is the great thing about a fellowship, is no matter where you go, I can go to a meeting. It might be ultra religious. It might be a really big book, really, but I still feel at ease. The exhale and inhale of myself is very good when I'm in those, amongst my people.
Oh, you know, we both spoke at your meeting. You spoke at it too.
No, but I've attended it.
It's great. And
while we're driving,
and I know Stuart very well. I won't mention his last name, but that's a badass thing about this fellowship we're in. We can do it anywhere in the world. And Sunday morning, I woke up and said, I'm going to start doing my men's stag meeting. Thursday night, we actually go to a friend's house up on their roof and have 8 or 10 of us and have a social distance meeting. But without our foundation of recovery, we're dead in the water. We can't help anyone. And I see, and you've seen, Jen and Bob, a lot of people that get into this and they let the job take over, and next thing they're drunk or got a needle in their arm and blow their head off.
Yeah, I mean, I've really had such an issue with people getting their 90 days sober, and they're working in recovery, and they're like, you know, a
behavioral health tech.
Even like people that are working, doing other things, like, you should focus on your recovery. You can do whatever you want after you have a foundation.
So what do you think?
How do you feel about that? Like the 90-dayers, 6-month people that go and work in treatment and
No, I really think that you need to have 2 years. Like, people call me and, you know, I've got 2 years, and, you know, having a good AA program does not make you an excellent interventionist. It does not make you a good sobriety coach. It does not make you, you know, go and learn. There's not enough trainings in the world. I have done pretty well all the time. I've done a lot of intervention trainings, and I'm an interventionist, and I go there. I remember being with my staff at a very popular training, and my staff going like, what the hell are they teaching in here? But we sat through it. And again, I really think of myself as a student of this game and a student of it. When I came into the business, where I talked about going to Chicago and like it costing me $600 to work a weekend, but I'm in the recovery business. A lot of people think that there's $1 to be made. When I hear someone, I want to get in the easy intervention game, I'm like, it's easy. Or people like, I work a lot. I don't know many that work more than me. I don't know any. And I'm open about the fact that I work, but you don't hear me post on on Instagram or on Facebook. Oh, another brave soul I saved today. I don't talk about that. That's not my business. So it's the same way I would never record the process of what I do in there. But like I say to you, if you don't have enough time, you can't practice, you can't broadcast something you haven't got. Like that's the AA tenets. But in this recovery game, I tell people like there's an obstacle course. Stuart's a great example because he followed everything that had to be done. At one point, he was like, "I'm going to do," and then he really did, and he listened, and he did these courses. And the more you get in that bag, the same thing in the bag of recovery, the same thing in the recovery job business. I've never taken a dollar that doesn't belong to me. My staff always says I play the long game. So people will call me, and I can't give them what they want because I'm going to tell them that can't be done. It has to be done this way. And sorry, we part ways. They find someone else that's willing to try it their way. It fails, and I don't know how often I hear, "Boy, we wish we had called you first," or "Boy, we wish we had listened to you first." I can't count how often we hear this because you cut through the bullshit. I get everything I need done. That's the job. And I can't sit there and in my own personal recovery, I sponsor people. I never talk about how many people I sponsor. I don't talk about how many, I just quietly do it. And everyone, I get the reputation because, well, he's pretty arrogant, he's pretty, well, if you've hired an interventionist and he's not damn sure that he's about to do what he's about to do, you've hired the wrong guy. Yeah. I believe that I'm going to go in there and we're going to give this thing one hell of a kick at the can. I use that expression all the time. Let's make this kick at the can, the kick at the can. Let's make this happen. Let's effect the change and do it. I had one this summer that took 3 weeks, but the magic I performed on this family was amazing. Like at Christmas, the daughter said, "Look, you have single-handedly they were a divorced family, but he goes, we're a nucleus again, and everything worked." Took 3 weeks. That was really hard on mom because we did the park bench thing and put this kid out. And he was pretty crafty for a little while. He finally got the help he needed. The father of this family outs himself to me months later and says, like, "I need help, prescription issue." He's in treatment now. I spoke to like 6 weeks in and he's loving it. And I said, like, there's the job and a master's class. Now we're doing it the way we're supposed to be doing it. And when I work with people, guys, like, I really appreciate that compliment, Tim. I work with people and they would do an intervention afterwards. Like they'll say, I have a second and third chair. It's not difficult. I'm going to work. I never work alone. Always someone with me. And like I did it, and the guy said, "How do you expect me ever to be able to do what you just did in there?" What do you mean? It was like crazy how you maneuvered yourself in there. I said, "You can do this if you follow this and be open to stuff." When people tell me there's this rigidity that you try and follow, listen, you control the narrative. You're in charge of the room. You do not raise your voice like that. When I hear about it, you can't lower the volume if everyone's yelling. Someone can come out of the chute, "I'm gonna fucking blah, blah, blah," yelling at you. Hey, I'm a stranger to you. We're going to sit down. I met a lot of people who love and concerned about you. We're just going to talk.
Yeah.
You can keep yelling. Just give me a few minutes. They took the time to be here today because, again, they love you. It's not that complicated when you can do that. And you can watch the air come out of the room. There's a vibe. And when I train interventionists, the ones that really get it when they come work with me can tell me, like, they can see the jazz. They can see the magic. And they're like, "Oh man, I could see what you were doing there," and that's a great interventionist. And that's why many people, interventionists go, when I hear about someone new, they were here for 3 hours, they charged us top dollar and nothing happened. That's not how we operate on my business. If one of my interventionists is out doing a job, they always tell me, "We know you're coming. If it doesn't work, we know you're getting on a plane and coming here at your own expense," because I want to give that. I want to be able to say, let's give them the best chance. And again, try and tell me someone at 2 years, there was no fucking way in the world I was prepared at 2 years to do what I do now. And I was more than 6 years into this before I entertained the notion of doing it, because I realized life and death. This might be the only chance that someone gets to get out of this. And who knows what can happen, like what variables could happen if this is improperly executed. I always say, create a mandate, execute the mandate. If it's done right, it works. If it's like you don't lie to them, "Oh yeah, Tuesday night's hooker night, you get a hooker." I don't know why I keep talking about hookers. Or you basically, now I've brought a warm, festering turd to the rehab center, and what do you mean I don't get my phone? I'm like Ted Knight in Caddyshack. You'll have nothing and you'll like it. That's how I talk to them, because I have not promised anything. And I've told them no immediately, like, you know, the deal breaker, because you can have someone say he's going to hold his hat to the one word you said, and then he'll show up at treatment and say, fucking interventionist lied to me. And I tell them, don't ever lie to them, because you now have a reputation when you bring this person into treatment of something incorrect. And I tell the fans, there's no deals here. This is what the deal is: a chance to get better. You know, some businessmen and stuff, listen, maybe the places I deal with, you'll have a bit of opportunity to have your phone. I like when they have no communication for at least a week, so we can sort of settle shit down. And those are the places I like to deal with. When they, oh, he's got their phone, like, who the fuck's in charge? You put the monkey in charge of the bananas here? So now I'm doing 5 interventions because Junior got to the rehab. He didn't get what was promised to him, and he's furious, and he's going to leave.
So let's talk about that, Bob. I mean, you put very successful billionaires, multimillionaires, and average people into, you know, the road to recovery through treatment. How many programs do you really work with? I mean, in nationwide, when I say that, I'm talking United States and Canada. I know who you use in Canada, but how many programs do you really think are quality programs out there, Bob? I mean, there's 35.
A half dozen.
Yeah.
Half dozen. They're probably a half dozen that I have a relationship with that I feel so confident that I'm okay with. When I send people and like, oh, he came in with his own subscription of Adderall and he leaves after 4 days, but we gave it back to him. But what? Yeah. When I have something like that go on, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Again, we have to be understanding of what has to be done. A lot of places want to have the intake call before. Like, if I've just done a horrific intervention, I've got a broken, wounded animal, and the admissions person said, I need to talk to the person now to get ready. Hey, he's not bleeding out of his eyeballs, and we're going to bring him in, and you're going to have to do your job then. I will stop that process, but I've been at this long enough. Like, an intervention can go wrong after you've got things settled down and we're traveling and we're going somewhere, and I have an admissions person. I'm not going to deal with that. I'm going to say no, and you'll have to trust that I'm bringing there. Very few clients, you know, it depends on age and stuff. I've ever, maybe 3 or 4 that have had to go into a hospital after they've showed up there. So pretty good law of averages. And I also know sometimes, like, we're going straight to the hospital. There's no way we're going there. Understood. But I'm telling you, as far as places go, there aren't many that I feel good in. There's what I feel comfortable with, and where I know I'm going to get it. And then, like, we used to share information. Like, the interventionist job was just drop them off at the rehab, and then, well, what happens in there, I've done my job. Realistically, yes, I have. But no, the way I work is that there's a case management immediately. It starts right there. Part of my fee is the first month is case management. On my company's fee is we're going to start working that. So the communication lines are going to be open. And we have to also understand that the family's usually fucking sick, and we got to be careful what we do give and don't give, because, you know, they want their fucking unicorn to be treated properly, and we have to work them. I brought in a clinical director that is so busy. She's like, I don't understand how much work in the 2 years that she's been working with me. She's got her full club. We're now bringing in, we have other people, and we're using psychology degrees, but we're using them as coaches in a much higher detail, coaching the family. So the best chances of doing that. So again, I think that the treatment is the acute care, and then what's the post-acute care going to look like? In fucking COVID, everyone's pretty well going online. IOPs are online, and they're not all created equal. And I sat in on one that my client was doing in Toronto, and I was like, yeah, I don't think this is a good fit for my client, because I was like, I don't really feel, you know, people are fucking around. Like, I need there to be meat on the bone. So there's some information. I'd like people to be engaged. And that's kind of my job. If you're case managing something and you're not really sure what's going on because the information is not, we can fucking text. We can talk at a lightning fast pace. And information that I can think of every one of my coaching gigs that are going on right now. I'm like just now gotten 3 audio files from 3 different cases, because I like audio. I don't like to read them. So they audio me what's going on. So I'm up to date with what's going on.
So Bob, I mean, I hate to cut you off here, but you're working with some of these families, not only up to a year, 2 years, 3 years. You know, it just depends on
I mean,
Go
I
ahead.
think also it's important for all those people out there. I mean, like, I'm sitting here listening to you, both of you, and I'm like, this is gold. Like, this is so informative for people who are out there listening, going, what do I do about my sick family or me, and how do I go about it? And like, you're laying this groundwork out and telling everyone. And I think what you said right now was so key is the family. I mean, I've never met a family that isn't just as sick or sicker than the actual
Right.
addict or
Person
alcoholic,
struggling,
yeah, person struggling. And I think people need to be aware of that and come into acceptance of that. But like, can you elaborate a little bit on this?
Every
That's
one of my
okay.
clients, the family immediately goes into, we start working immediately. Before I even go out to meet the family, I know what time's available, what time do we got, because I have a new one coming online. I do a little backdrop of the family and let's talk to the mom, the dad, the persons of concern, the family are the people close to them. Sometimes I do a lot of corporate stuff where like the board will call me and say like our major earner is all fucked up and what can we do here? And then we teach that because they used to make it an internal matter. Our job really is to make sure that everyone's educated because that's the best chances when it comes back. How many people oh, he went to rehab, and then they're just like whispering, what should we do's and don'ts? Well, if we can educate people around them, what needs to be done. That old expression is like, if I plant a tree in the nuclear holocaust that's my front lawn and I want it to grow, meaning the bad environment, I take the tree out and I bring it into beautiful rehab and flowers are coming, and I just plant it back in the shitty earth. I'm not going to get much out of it. It's the same with if we have a busted family unit. Sometimes the family are limited on how much they're going to want to help themselves. Sometimes they do. Most of now with therapy can start seeing a value. Hey, you know what? We have our blame or our part to play in here. Maybe we should start looking at it. And, there's some families that believe that psychology is a taboo. We're not going to talk about my family issues. And like, I've got like a father, a guy like, completely, dude, you're driving the bus, you're the captain at the helm of the SS Vodka, and you're like, I'm not the one with the problem here. And I'm like, and I've gotten to the point now, yeah, you are. You're a functional alcoholic, and you showed your kid that, and you're clearly emotionally stunted. People are like, I don't give a shit. I'm telling him the truth because he needs to hear it. And if you want your kid to get better and your life and everything to get better, you should start doing your part. And like, really? And like I said, people like, I can't believe I told them that. Well, I'm there to do one part. I'm going to do the whole thing because it doesn't make sense. Oh, let's ignore it. I've gone to an pre-intervention and seen a guy pour like 3-fingered scotches. My kid's a fucking disaster. Like narcissist dad, mom is subservient. Everyone's codependent. It's pretty sad. It's pretty fucking sad.
People don't realize, Bob, the dysfunctional families all of us have worked with, the horrific environments we see, beautiful house, Porsches, Ferraris in the driveway. You walk in and it is the biggest shit storm. Like you're scratching your head going, what? Jennifer had we had a case last week, and I won't get into details, but the partner in the relationship had such a bad porn addiction, and this individual was watching incest porn, and Jen afterwards said, I don't know if I want to be. Well,
this is somebody I'd been like communicating with for 2 years with, and until like that person was ready, I just kind of communicate and encourage them, like I do a lot of other people. But when it got worse and worse in the 2 years, it just got
worse.
Like anything, anyone that we've it's gotten worse. And both the relationship, both people it got so sick that like I couldn't rub it, like I couldn't like shake it off. Like normally I can shake them off, right? And I can say like, okay, and I can express myself and all this stuff. And I'm like, babe, I'm not sure if this is something that like, I don't understand why it's affecting me. And it's something that I've never even experienced or anything, or there's no correlation for me. But I realize how sick our households are.
Yeah.
And no one talks about it.
I mean, given that if the alcoholic or the addict, it's a progressive illness, then why wouldn't we think that the families are So it's, for me, it's become everything really in the last 2 years. Everything's driven through a clinical backdrop for the whole family. And it's amazing to watch them because they actually, it makes such a difference in how this recovery happens when everyone can own their piece and their part. You know, I tell people all the time, I copy paste codependent no more. Mom, read this. It's not an indictment. It's in order for you to see how our operational skills and how we're all slotting in. And we all have codependency issues. And, you know, there's some lady, Sherry Gaba, has this codependency curious, amazing Instagram. The shit she puts out is fantastic.
We just
We
had her
just
on.
had Sherry on our show.
She's a
Oh,
good
you
friend.
did?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I love
her.
Sherry.
You know, I follow her. I'm pretty sure she doesn't follow me. And I even write that this is fabulous stuff. Because that's driving the boat. And when you can bring the whole family into the recovery where it's not like a secret and it's not that, and we can, everything, the success numbers are way better. You asked me about what rehabs I like. When people call me and they say this rehab tells me it's got a 96% chance, I say, anyone that's posting success rates, not going there. And the guy says, there's no fucking way in the world you can A, check that, B, that just doesn't make sense. And when you use words like, we're going to give this our best opportunity here, and the best opportunity to me is I like places that are grain fed. I always say that, smaller, more intimate type settings. I'm big on that so that we get real individual care. What does it look like? And if we can harmonize, like they're doing emotional surgery on people at these places, and it needs to be done by people that can commit. You know, would you go to a surgeon that didn't know how to be a surgeon? No. So it's real important to me that that happens on a regular basis, that we can communicate faster. And I don't want. How many times do I get on the phone with a clinician and it's like fucking word soup? They're just saying all these words and they're like, dude, just give me the fucking spark notes. Give me what I need to know so I can move the ball, what's important, what's not. It's not any more complicated than that. That's as easy as I want it to be done. So the smaller places can do that.
That's why I recommend, you know, families reach out to an interventionist, especially if, you know, you've got complex cases. It's not an 18-year-old, oh, my kid needs rehab, here's 3 places, okay, wants to go, you know, because it's not just putting the person into treatment, it's really giving a person a shot to build a foundation for this thing called recovery.
And it's also giving the family a shot, you know, to
Absolutely.
become a family.
To become a family, because they're so dysfunctional and fucked up. I mean, like, it's just a fact. And, you know, but anyhow, it's a good thing. Bob, how can people, if they want to find you, to utilize your services, follow you on social media, where can people find Bob Marrier?
Google my name. I tell people all the time because I come up right away. Bob, Marrier. But in reality, it's interesting. The social media, I used to feed that machine. I used to feed my fucking thing. I had someone that was building the content, and it never really worked. And so like I had over 500,000 people at one time. I hover around 390, 300 to 400 now. But I did 6 posts in 2020, you know, because I just stopped. I realized that a lot of the communications I was getting from that as I worked it were from people that needed desperate help that I couldn't, you know, you can't really, and, you know, they're looking for services that I couldn't necessarily do. And I was like, I'm trying to answer everything I get. Yeah. You have 100 DMs every time you turn your phone on. It's impossible. And some lurid stuff. So, I mean, I can be found very easily, obviously hiredsobriety.com, but I can be found easily. And here's the thing that other people don't, is I pretty well try. I have someone that will look in my emails and tell me if it's a general search to info at my email. I usually get a call if it's a hot potato, if it's real important, I get on it right away. I get told like this person, and then I see every one of them. Like I said, I had a call from a lady that was looking at getting into the business, and, you know, she had a really good conversation with her, and she worked in other fields. And I explained to her, like, this is the way it's going to go down. And to start now, you know, to go get some, and there are some online trainings that are effective. Nothing better than person, and then learn to shadow and learn to I don't suspect you should do an online course and go do an intervention on your own if you're in the deep side of the pool. And mistakes can be made there that can be extremely costly. I had a case a few years ago. I remember the man, his name Bernard, I won't say his last name. And he had called me and I told him what I could do. And he said, like, it's my son and his wife. And I said, I need to separate these. I can't do them at the same time. And he found an interventionist that would. And he paid this woman, $10,000. And she went up to the place and spent 3 hours there. And said, you have a hopeless case. See you later. And he had paid her and she left. And I remember feeling, and this man had means. There was no problem there. But I felt so bad that he had been clipped like that. I said, are you ready to do it the right way? Because I'm going to tell you what needs to be done. They had no marriage. All they did was drink and use together. So I went and did the son with his other boys and did it. And we did it properly. And he went and got help. And he realized that his marriage was done. But there was no way you could do both. They really had it out for each other. And that was it. But I remember thinking, like, this is very dangerous on the internet. People prey upon people, SEOs, and a lot of guys in my business, not all, like the people that deal with the reputable guys do reputable things and they're consistent in their play. And there's a lot of good ones, but there are some idiots out there that are looking to fuck someone, make their money and leave and just like, I'm not taking their calls anymore. There isn't a single client I don't take their calls. Not one.
You know, we had a call a couple weeks ago from a lady that runs a nonprofit in the Carolinas. And she said, well, I've been working with these two brothers for 3 years. And I'm scratching my head saying, well, why are you working with them? You really don't work in the field. One's 31, hardcore alcoholic, doing meth. And the other one's 35, doing meth, severe narcissist. And they had both the wives on the phone. And I said, look, if we are to come do this, we do the first one, the younger brother first. Get him into treatment, then we come back and attack the older brother. But I said, if he's 35, a true narcissist, hardcore meth, I'm going to need 2 to 3 other people with me to do this right. If he's in a psychosis, it's very dangerous. And, but you just lay it out there. And we're getting to where we need to end, but I want to ask you, Bob, how do you deal with the people that expect your services to be free or I can pay you $2,000? How do you handle that? What do you say to families?
I'm about to tell you something that I shouldn't say out loud. I very seldom say no. I help people. But I tell people on my term, like you obviously can't be everywhere. And I tell them that there are some people that you can find services at, but clearly, I work at a level now, and my needs, I have enough business of my own. But I tell people I'm not going to leave you on the side of the road here. Like, I have found people resources and done stuff like that. But you need to be firm on them. I on my meeting that you come to sometimes, there's some people in there that will tell you, Bob just reached back out to me. I didn't even pay him. He helped me, and I was like, yeah, the phone call doesn't cost me much time. And I like to think that I would never leave someone on the side of the road. I just think it's bad. And I know my office always says to me, my God, like, how can you, I said, like, think of it, like, if there's one shot, it could have been me, and maybe I should try my best to do that. But clearly you can't do it all the time. I have did an intervention once, and my employee, I was working with a girl, obviously a woman case, and I had a second chair with me. And during the intervention, it became clear to me that the family needed therapy. This was a big ticket item for them, what they were doing. And what I did was I said, I'm going to give you the therapy you guys need after I did the intervention. And I basically took my fee and gave it towards the family for them getting all this stuff. And I paid my employee, obviously. But she said to me, do you do this often? I said, when it needs to be done, sometimes I needed to be here and I needed to be able to do that. I'm in a position where I'm able to do things like that. But I often think that, you're going to do a good turn. And I'm happy to report that worked out great because they all got help. They all helped themselves and it made it a bit better. So sometimes, like, I hate to think that this is their and I've told people, like, you're not ready to go to treatment yet if we're still not going to be willing to do this change,
Right.
And if you're going to have someone so acrimonious, we've had it. People that have gone to treatment, like, oh, fucking go, and like, comes in the car, an apartment when they get out. They need to go on their own accord. I did not go to rehab happy. I did not go to rehab wanting to go. I did not want to be there. I did not, and it was, thank God I stayed, and thank God I didn't, because I would have had the means to get my way out of there and pay. And I was a high functioning, high bottom, but I went in there, like no one told me, there was no interventionist telling me how it's going to happen, what it's going to be. And I went in there and I remember thinking, like, these people are, the comparative shopping, these people are way worse than I was, like
Right.
All of a sudden in a room full of sick people, I'm one of the least sick, but I'm still sick. And, I think that, if I could be honest, when I say that, is that we have a responsibility to human to be empathetic and to tell people the truth and say, like, I've told people there are resources and, socialized medicine. You get in line, but you'll get the help for addiction. You may have to, like, these calls are going to have to be made. And, when it has to be made from the person of concern, it's going to be hard, but at least we can get some resources to people that need it. And even in the United States, there are places that can help. Our friends at the Oaks help a lot of people for a very good fee. They're detox people. They do it the hard way. Here's the Alcoholics Anonymous big book. You can eat it. Bend over, we'll ram it in you, but we'll get you going. And these are people, like, I look at Brian Reddy and I'm humbled by that man's program. I'm humbled by the goodness he does for people and the kindness he provides. That's pretty hardcore what he does, and his heart and soul. Much like when you're cooking food. If you cook food and you don't give a shit, like, some people make Pop-Tarts. Some people know how to cook and use butter and make goodness. And that's the difference.
We're actually, I'm taking my wife out for dinner tonight because we didn't want to go out for Valentine's Day because it's too busy. So
and
we waited
were on
a couple
lockdown
days.
during January
So
for my birthday.
So we can go outside and have a dinner tonight. But Bob, we want to thank you for coming on the Tim and Jenn show. We need to have you back on because I feel like
there's so much more.
We talked about an eighth of what we could talk about. But, if you're listening, you need help, reach out to Bob. You can reach out to Jennifer and I, dopetohope.com, hiredsobriety.com.
We definitely want you back sooner than later. And we want to thank Lux Media and everyone who tuned in. But Bob, thank you so much for your honesty. And another thing, you're one of the only people that I know that has so much passion 17 years later in your recovery about what you do for the last, 12 years, 11 years, 12 years. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that passion. Thank you for inspiring us. And we love you so much.
Have a good one.
Bye, guys. See you later.
Bye, Bob. We want to talk to you about Clean Cause, better caffeine. What's in the can? Our organic, sparkling Herba Mate is a premium pick-me-up that won't let you down. Every can of Clean Cause contains 160 milligrams of better caffeine, and each sip supports recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. 50% of the profits go to assist people into sober living. Check out cleancause.com.
Hope. At Rosecrance, it's more than a wish. Hope has power. As the proven behavioral health leader in the Midwest, no other program offers our depth of experience and hope here at Rosecrance. And when someone you love struggles with substance abuse and mental illness, hope plays an important part in recovery. Life's got bigger plans for you. We should know. We're the most trusted name in treatment and the best choice for those who dare to hope. Visit us at rosecrance.org. Life's waiting.
Seaside Palm Beach is an executive luxury addiction treatment center located in Palm Beach, Florida. Our private clients come from all over the world, including business executives, professional athletes, celebrities, and more. Seaside Palm Beach offers first-class amenities and high-end accommodations, including a gourmet culinary experience, ocean views, pet-friendly facilities, and access to cell phones and laptops during your stay. If you or a loved one are struggling with addiction, please call us at 877-959-5053. Again, that number is 877-959-5053.
Now, glutathione is a big word, but it's the body's own master antioxidant. So it's a scavenger for free radicals, for bacteria, and what's relevant now, viruses. This is new to the marketplace. There's no other product on the market that has the ingredient NACET.
And basically, NACET increases the production of that glutathione that is in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system and keep it strong. Elevated sense of well-being. Supports muscle strength and endurance. Cognitive function. Powerful liver support. Energy. Helps blood sugar regulation. Superior bioavailability of key ingredients.
One of your best defenses against COVID is a strong immune system. Taking GSH Plus as a daily supplement does all that. And now we have the product out on the marketplace.